So what we're going to do here is a little bit of case prep for our 223 rounds. I've got a bucket of 223 shell casings that have been separated out from the other ones. These ones are military brass that have a primer pocket seal on them. Primer pocket seal has just a little ring around it there that you can see that seals that primer pocket or the primer in place. In order to reload these rounds, this brass, you have to remove that seal right there. So all of these shell casings have gone through the first stage of reloading. They've been resized and deprimed, and you have to do that in order to get that primer pocket to be clear and the seal out of it. So what we're going to do is go through 10 rounds here of what I'm doing for case prep for my 223s. To remove that seal around that primer pocket, I'm just using a countersink drill bit in a drill here, and we're just going to ream that out for a couple of seconds, and that'll take care of that seal there. So this is my homemade swaging system. So after doing that just a couple of seconds, that reams out that seal, takes care of it, so now I can put a primer back into that. So we'll do that to all 10 of these and then go to the next section. Okay, so all of these have now been swaged, the seal taken out of the primer pocket. Now they're ready to be measured for size. So I want to make sure that all my shell casings are in the proper length so that I can reload them. If they're too long, we're going to cut them down with our case trimmer here. So we want all of our shell casings to be shorter than 1.760 inches. If they're longer than that, we'll trim them down. If they're shorter than that, then we won't. So this one is a little bit longer, so it's going to need to be trimmed. So we'll go ahead and measure all of these, and we're going to have to measure all of our brass on rifles just because they stretch so much more because they have a neck on them when you shoot them. So we have to make sure that those are all the right size. With pistol rounds, you don't necessarily need to do that quite as much or worry about it because they don't have the neck on them to stretch when that pressure hits it. So you can see already we've got 4 of them there that are going to need to be resized and 2 of them that don't. So if they're less than that 1.760 inches, then we will leave them alone. They'll be okay. If they're longer, we'll need to trim them down a little bit. So you can see that most of them needed to be trimmed. So we've got 6 of them here that need to be trimmed, 4 of them that are ready to go. They don't need any more case prep or any more work on them. They can just go right into the press and be reloaded. These ones here that need to be trimmed to size, however, we're going to put in our case trimmer and size them down. I've already adjusted the size on this case trimmer to the length that I want. It will cut these down to 1.755 inches, and that'll be right where I want them. With this case trimmer, it's a universal one, so I can just snap the brass right into there, slide this into place, and then lock the brass tight, and then turn the handle until all the shell casings stop coming off. And you can hear it kind of changes the sound a little bit when it gets to that point. So as soon as they're done there, we're not finished with them. They've still got another couple of stages to go. So we're going to do all of them, and then we'll move on to the next step here. So you can also see that this takes a little bit of time. If you've got to go through each individual shell casing and trim them down to size, it certainly adds time to your reloading process. But certainly something that needs to happen. Okay, so after that's done, now they have a sharp edge on them on the inside and the outside of the opening there. So we're going to have to go through and use this tool to remove those sharp edges on the outside and inside. So the first part is we're going to take that shell and do a couple of spins to get that outside edge taken off, and then switch the tool over to cut away the inside edge. So once we've done that, now we have a smooth edge here that our bullet will feed into just fine and will work in our press. So we'll go through and do that to all 6 of these shell casings as well. And then once we're done with this, this is the last step. Now they're ready to go in our case feeder or into the press to be reloaded. So just the things that you need to do for all of your rifle brass rifle rounds that you have to do to make sure that they're going to feed into your gun just fine, and also they'll be the right length for pressures and things like that as well. Okay, so there's the 6 of those, and now we've got 10 rounds that we can go reload.